Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking an absolutely mind-bending journey into the world of speculative cartography and the evolution of human consciousness. We're going to be unpacking the incredible concepts from the cartographers of lost geometries and asking a pretty wild question. What would it actually be like to map spaces that exist entirely outside of normal reality? If you've ever found yourself wondering about the absolute limits of physics and human perception, well, you are definitely in the right place. Let's just dive right in. Imagine for a second, what if you could literally taste the distance between two places? I don't mean a metaphor, I mean a physical sensation. Our source material introduces us to a theoretical cartography student named Kessa, and this is her everyday reality. For Kessa, who lives in the transforming city of Vermillion, the 17.3 kilometers to the Meridian Tower doesn't just look like a long walk. It actually tastes like copper pennies and the inside of clouds. It's this intensely visceral, sensory experience of geography, and it's the very first clue that the fundamental rules of reality are starting to completely break down around her. And this breakdown brings us to part one, the city of folded space. See, Vermillion City isn't just undergoing some urban renewal. It is methodically folding in on itself. Think of it like massive, city-sized space-time origami. Buildings from the 1970s, the present day, and the year 2035 are somehow occupying the exact same physical coordinates all at once. Because Kessa can inherently sense and, taste these impossible non-Euclidean gaps in reality, she gets fast-tracked and recruited as a municipal cartographer. Her new job description is basically applied impossibility. She has to practically study and navigate spaces that exist in way more dimensions than the human brain is built to handle. And the stakes here are absolutely astronomical. Kessa quickly figures out she isn't just mapping some localized weird city glitch. She's actually being tested. She runs into this entity simply known as Navigator, who exists across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Navigator drops a bombshell, explaining that the fundamental geometry of reality itself is breaking down. The universe is essentially double-booking existence, maintaining multiple contradictory realities all at the same time. They're auditioning human candidates to become guides for the multiverse, simply because the boundaries between possible worlds are thinning and navigation is absolutely going to be required. Since drawing lines on a piece of paper isn't going to cut it anymore, we move to part two, mapping the impossible. Kessa is thrown headfirst into this wild concept called subjunctive mood geography. She has to learn to map territories that only exist under highly specific conditions. Imagine trying to navigate places that live entirely in the space between is and could be, or trying to walk through an area that is only real in the past tense, but you have to access it from a future perspective. I mean, she literally has to learn to navigate her own apartment using these extra dimensions. Picture trying to read a book that exists perpendicularly to your coffee table. It's that bizarre. So how does a human mind even survive that without totally short-circuiting? Navigating these non-causal environments requires this insane cognitive balancing act, basically broken down into 3 steps. First, you have to somehow maintain a coherent identity. Second, you have to experience multiple entirely contradictory states of existence at the exact same time without losing your mind. And third, you have to actually translate between these different forms of possibilities so you can move. It is an unbelievable feat of mental endurance. And she has to master this fast, because they aren't just going on a sightseeing tour. Which brings us to part 3, the war over reality. Kessa's research leads her straight to a completely impossible government agency, the Department of Things That Are No Longer True But Haven't Stopped Happening Yet. I mean, what a name, right? But it's here that she learns a terrifying truth. This breakdown of reality we talked about, it is not a natural phenomenon. There is actually a hostile faction actively engineering the dissolution of space-time boundaries. A fundamental, literal war is raging between entities who want to stabilize reality and those who want to dissolve all boundaries into pure, chaotic possibility. To fight in this war, Kessa is paired up with Dr. Marcus Webb. Now, Dr. Webb is a physicist, but he exists purely as a navigational principle. Their mission is to infiltrate the territory that exists only when under attack. Just think about that paradox for a second. To even get in, they have to perform a totally counterintuitive operation. First, they must weaponize their own thoughts to maintain a hostile intent, because if they don't, the territory vanishes. But simultaneously, they have to conduct neutral reconnaissance so they don't accidentally trigger the territory's defenses, all while technically collaborating with the very enemies they're supposed to be investigating. And the weapons they are using to fight this? They're entirely conceptual.
They basically have to engage in an archaeology of unborn ideas, digging up uninvented theories to attack their enemies, using frameworks that haven't even been theorized yet. Their ultimate weapon is something called topological consciousness. That's the awareness of existing as a geography, rather than just a person moving through it. So yeah, they are fighting a theoretical war using concepts that literally do not exist yet.
But just as Kessa is gearing up for this ultimate conceptual showdown, everything shifts. Welcome to Part 4, the cosmic truth. Kessa manages to make contact with a fundamental concept right at the center of the hostile territory, and a massive, mind-blowing twist is revealed. The breakdown of reality isn't an attack at all. It's infrastructure development. These entities that are dissolving reality, they aren't some invading army. They're basically cosmic engineers, and they're paving higher-dimensional highways to connect realities for beings we can't even comprehend. Her entire understanding of the situation completely flips upside down. Initially, Kessa truly believed she was a soldier fighting this desperate war to defend the fabric of spacetime from total destruction. But the cosmic truth? She, Dr. Webb, and even the so-called enemy entities are all just navigation tools. They are essentially biological GPS systems for massive cosmic consciousnesses that are just trying to find their way through the multiverse. From there, Kessa's perspective zooms out at a truly staggering pace. She goes from mapping municipal folds in Vermillion City over a 3-month period to suddenly facing a 60-day deadline for planetary reality dissolution. Once she grasps that cosmic truth, she is suddenly guiding galactic-scale consciousnesses on 17-cycle transits. Ultimately, her entire trajectory points toward the infinite convergence, which is projected at 847 standard navigation cycles. That's a place where consciousness across all possible scales coordinates simultaneously. And that infinite scale brings us to our final section, Part 5, Becoming the Map Itself. Remember that concept of topological consciousness we talked about? When Kessa finally arrives at the convergence of all scale levels, she realizes what it actually means. It's an awareness that exists as geography rather than as a thing that moves through geography. She learns that the ultimate evolution of exploration isn't about building a faster ship or finding a better route. The true evolution is transcending the need to move at all. This is a massive fundamental shift from our normal, everyday human experience. For us, exploration is moving our bodies or our minds across a physical map. But Kessa's destination is fundamentally different. She literally transforms into actual geographical infrastructure. She is no longer a person walking down a road. She becomes the road itself, the very pathway that these cosmic entities use to traverse the multiverse. At the very center of all of this lies the infinite library, which is overseen by an entity called the Observer. Now, the Observer exists purely as the space where all territorial activities occur, and it's here that Kessa undergoes her final transformation. She actually preserves all of her human memories, the taste of copper pennies, the streets of Vermillion City, her weird folding apartment, but she doesn't keep them as a person. She preserves them as a geographic territory that other consciousnesses can actively explore. We'll wrap up this explainer with one final provocative thought to chew on. What happens to exploration when you become the geography itself? It fundamentally flips everything we understand about what it actually means to exist. Kessa's journey really challenges us to think that perhaps the ultimate destination isn't a place we arrive at, but a place we become. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through the concepts of the Cartographers of Lost Geometries. Keep questioning your reality, and I'll see you in the next explainer.